Welcome to Online Classes with Yoga Cheryl. This week we will work on the cow's face pose, or Gomukhasana. Gomukhasana is a seated posture that opens both the hips and the shoulders. So we'll work to open up through the rotator cuff and through the outsides of the thighs. And to do this, we'll need a few props. So I've got out the whole complement of props for today: a bolster, a blanket, 2 blocks, a strap, and even a sandbag. If you don't have a sandbag, don't worry. You can still do this first preparatory position without it. So let's get started. So the first thing that we'll do is lay down on the back to open up through the shoulders, through the belly, and through the outsides of the thighs. The sandbag is going to be placed on the palms of the hands as we lie down to practice something known as Tadagi Mudra, or the lake seal. So I'm going to lie on my back. Sandbag is going to be behind where my head goes. Start out with your knees bent and slip your palms under the sandbag, and then let the arms fully extend as much as they comfortably can over the shoulders. Now, if this is not possible because of shoulder sensitivity, you could place a blanket underneath the hands to raise it up a little bit. So from this position, we're going to first do a little twist, crossing the legs to stretch the outsides of the thighs. Take your right leg, bring it to the chest, cross it over the left so that the knees are stacked. And then allow the legs to start to relax towards the right. Now I'm rolling onto the inside edge of my left foot. My right calf is gently drawing down the outside of the left leg toward the knee. There's no need to go all the way to the floor. Keep both shoulders firmly on the floor, but the knee is hovering about a foot above the floor. Feel the belly, especially on the exhalation. Draw gently in. Holding for a few breaths. And then on an exhalation, push down into the foot, roll yourself back to the center. And then uncross and recross. And then roll to the left. So left leg on top, the knees move left. I'm on the inside edge of my right foot as my knees release towards the ground. Right shoulder staying in contact with the floor, arms reaching. Oftentimes, the longer we stay in this pose, the knees sink gently towards the floor, but don't force that to happen. Belly draws back towards the spine, creating this sense of deepness in the belly. So just a few more breaths. And then belly in, exhale, push yourself back to the center and uncross the legs. One at a time, extend the legs long, drop the thighs toward the floor. Try not to let the leg roll out as this happens. And then the other side, extend, dropping the leg down to stretch out the whole lower part of the abdomen. So exhaling, drop the belly, almost as if we are sinking the navel toward the spine to create this gentle pull in the abdomen. So just take a few breaths in this position. The legs are very active. The word Tadagi means lake. We want to think of the belly as being deep like a lake or a pool of water. Good, 2 more breaths there. And then releasing by bending one knee, bending the other knee, gently sliding the arms out and bringing the hands down to the sides. So feel how the shoulder blades now really sink down into the mat. And we're going to come into a version of a reclining version of the leg position for Gomukhasana. So step your left foot to the center of the mat and bring your right leg all the way over so that the knees are stacked. And then allow the legs to draw inward, so drawing both knees toward the belly. You can either hold on to opposite knees, so right hand to left knee, left hand to right knee, but make sure your pelvis stays on the floor. Flex through the ankles. If this feels easy for you, you could bring your hands down to the shins or down to the ankles or even down to the tops of the feet and pull the heels slightly toward your buttocks. So it is safer for the knees to flex through the ankles rather than just letting them relax. So keep those heels pressed out, drawing inward, head, shoulders, and buttocks all on the sticky mat here. So you're likely going to feel a lot of stretch on the leg that's closest to your body. For me now, it's my right side, and I'm feeling a stretch all the way up through the IT band and into the right side of the buttock. So relaxing the breath, relaxing the back of the body. Good. Keep your right leg, the closest leg that's to you, in, and then put the left foot on the floor. We're going to come into a reclined pigeon position. So let the right knee move out a little bit. I'm going to wrap my right elbow around to the outside of my right knee and wrap my left hand, or my left elbow, if I can reach it, to the outside of my foot. Now, as I do this, the thigh is going to come close. Again, if this is too intense, you can loosen that stretch by holding it with the hands. Then extend the left leg and drop the left leg down again. So we're coming into a reverse or a supine version of pigeon position. So dropping that left inner thigh especially, pulling in. Notice my foot is still flexed. This is a bit stronger stretch than the traditional thread the needle. So if this is not happening for you, you could come into thread the needle instead, just to show the difference. It's a little bit less intense to be here. So your choice, to be in thread the needle or to be in this pigeon position. Now notice my left leg doesn't want to completely come down to the floor. So to get that to happen, I'm going to loosen just a bit. Good. And then bring that knee back into the center and extend the leg straight down. And then rebend both knees. Step the right foot into the center of the mat. Step the left leg all the way over the right. So sometimes we think of this as the more ladylike cross. And then draw the legs toward the belly. Hands to opposite knees, or to the fronts of the shins, flexing ankles, or down to the top of the ankle, pulling heels toward the buttock. Now it's my left leg, the close leg, that is feeling the majority of the stretch here. So relax the back body, don't lift the head or the hips. Good, and then to transition this into the reclined pigeon position, I'm going to put my right foot on the floor, start to externally rotate this left leg and abduct it a little bit more away from the middle. You can figure out how to hold hand to foot, flexing foot, hand to knee as you draw in, or if you want to wrap elbows to the edge, that's fine as well. And then extend the right leg down to the mat. Now again, with this side it's a little tight for me, so I'm going to loosen my hold so that my leg can ground. It's much more relaxing for my back. Keeps my spine in a more neutral tilt. So feeling this pigeon-like stretch in the left outer leg, flexing through this right foot the whole time. Again, if this is still too intense for you, come into a regular thread the needle by bringing the knee behind the ankle and clasping here. So either way. Good, taking just a couple more breaths. And then extend this knee to, pull the knee to the chest, and then extend the leg down to the floor. And let the legs go for a moment. Then transition to constructive rest by bending both knees, placing the palms down to the sides of the sticky mat, and come up into bridge pose. So think about lifting the pelvis straight up as you press down into your feet and down into the arms, and on the exhalation, releasing. Inhale, come up into bridge. Exhale to release. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, releasing. Use just as much thigh as you are buttock muscles here to lift yourself up. 2 more times. Inhale, pressing up. Do not let your knees widen. Exhale down. Last time, you may hold it if you choose. Inhale to lift. Keep the arms where they are. Press back into the floor. Lengthen the tailbone towards the backs of the knees. And then exhale to release. Widen the feet out to the width of the sticky mat. Let the arms move slightly out of the way. And just windshield wiper the knees. Inhale to the left. Exhale to the center. Inhale to the right. Exhale to the center. Using the belly on the exhalation to help pull you back into the middle. So do that a few times. Feeling the internal rotation and external rotation of the thighs. And then when you finish, come to center. Bring the feet back into the center, and then let the knees come into the chest. Rock a little bit from side to side. Roll yourself over. Use your hands to push yourself up to a seated position and find your strap. Now I'm going to show this series of strap arm stretches standing. You're welcome to do this sitting down or sitting on a bolster or a block or even on your feet. But just so that you can see everything, I'm going to show it standing up. So carefully come up. And I'm going to turn my back so that you can see what's going on behind me. So first, you're going to stand in a nice strong Tadasana. Hold the strap behind your body so that the palms are faced back. Arms are about the distance, shoulders distance apart. Then as you are stretching, we're basically trying to extend the shoulders behind the body, but I don't want the body to come forward like this. We want to keep the belly lifted, the thighs drawing in, the heart lifting up, the triceps of the arms engaged as we straighten those elbows and lift straight back. Doing that a few times. Inhale, push. Exhale, release. If it's difficult, widen the hands. So wider hands is a bit easier. So do that 3 to 5 times. Stretching through the chest, engaging through the triceps. Good. And then release that stretch and take the strap in your right hand. I'm going to turn around again with the right palm turned forward. Raise the right arm completely over the head and bend the right elbow so that the strap is dangling behind the back. Take the left arm, turn the palm toward the back of the room, thumb toward the body, and do what we just did. Extend the arm back and then bend the elbow. So there's a few ways that you can open up the shoulders for the eventual position for Gomukhasana. Here we're going to alternately stretch the tricep and the bottom shoulder. So I'm grasping the strap with my left hand And I'm going to pull down on my left hand, which will draw my right elbow more toward my head. So I'm feeling more of a stretch in my right tricep. So we're just going to relax here, try not to take too much effort into the base of the neck. The left arm is doing the work. And then release that extra pressure. This time I'm going to take my right hand toward the ceiling, straightening the right hand. I'm going to let it slide through my hand just a little bit so I can get a straight arm here. And this pulls my left hand up between my shoulder blades. Now I'm not trying to force the left shoulder back. If I turn to the side, you can see that my left shoulder is actually slightly rounded forward, and that's to keep that joint between the collarbone and the shoulder blades safe. So I'm actually pressing my head just slightly back into the strap, keeping my belly in, keeping my legs engaged, and then I'm going to let go. This arm that was behind, it's going to come around and do a hug of the shoulder. So it was my left arm that was behind my back. If I bring that arm to the right shoulder and the right arm underneath my left armpit, I'm going to give myself a little squeeze here across the chest. So I'm widening into the hug of my collarbones. I'm widening the shoulder blades away from the spine. And then releasing the arms. So now let's move to the second side. So we've got our strap. I'm going to hold it in my other hand. And I was making a little bit of a loop. I'm kind of holding it loose so that there's a large loop. So Tadasana first. Inhale, left arm comes up, nice and strong. We're turning the arm into external rotation here. Let the strap dangle behind the head. Find the loop or the strap to hold at some point behind the sacrum. First thing, we're going to straighten the right arm, which pulls this left elbow toward the head. Belly sits close to the spine. Head is not being pushed out of center. So it's a strong stretch of the tricep muscles. And then we reverse. We're going to stop pulling with the right hand, bring it a little higher, and then start to lift the left arm up. Now, depending on whether you're right-handed or left-handed, or if you have any difficulty in either shoulder, one side may be a lot more flexible than the other side. So once you get into your position here, don't force it any higher than it wants to go. I'm going to lean my head back into the strap just a little bit and continue to straighten through the left elbow, relaxing the right shoulder. Just breathing, feeling the stretch around the rotator cuff, and then release. Now my right arm was behind my back. I'm going to hang this over my shoulder. I'm going to bring my right hand to my left shoulder, bring my left arm underneath my right armpit, and again, I'm just going to hug, but instead of squeezing in, I'm going to broaden. Elbows are lifting to point forward. Breathing into the chest, breathing into the upper back, and then releasing. Now, if that was a challenge for you, I'm going to show you an alternate position to do those two same stretches. So instead of using the strap and doing both at the same time, you could opt to do them individually. First, you would take the left arm forward and up, bend the elbow, bring the right hand to the top of the elbow, and just draw in towards the head. So you'd hold that for about a minute. And then you could do the same on the other side. So external rotation, arm lifts, hand to the upper back, opposite hand draws inward. So that would be alternate one. For the bottom position, you could actually do a sort of crossing of the arms behind the back. So the thumb can turn in, both sides. You can move the arms back and then bend your elbows. First, you can stack the hands, or if you have the flexibility, you can grasp opposite forearms. Now, so gather up your strap again, and this time we're going to do a little bit of a forward bend with that clasped hand behind the back or holding the strap. So either hold the strap like we did before, stand in a nice strong Tadasana, lift the chest, Bend your knees, come out over the thighs, and start to lift the arms up towards the ceiling. The head is in alignment with the rest of the spine. You're not dropping the head, nor are you looking forward. The arms come down. If you can clear the hips with the strap, you can drop the strap, hands to knees, and stand all the way up. The next, slightly more challenging version of that is to clasp the hands behind the back with nice straight elbows. Again, lifting the heart, strong legs, exhaling, coming forward. This position, I prefer to release my head towards the floor. It's a bit more comfortable. But if you can't come down this far, you can still be in this position where you're bending your knees and the arms are reaching back. And then let the hands come to the hips. You can bring the hands to the knees and exhale to push yourself back up to standing. Finish with a nice lift up. So here the shoulders are flexed, and then bringing hands to the heart. All right, I'm going to move the strap out of the way and get a different set of props for the next section of the series. So we're going to do downward dog and transition that into pigeon position. So for pigeon position, I'm going to actually take my blanket to the right side of the sticky mat. And I'm going to wad it up into more of a sort of a pillow shape. So it's going to be here. And then coming into downward facing dog, come down to my knees. Hands slightly forward of the shoulder. Taking those toes under and lifting up. So lengthen the spine. Feel the shoulders stretching here. Dropping the knees, heels towards the floor. To come into pigeon pose, pick up the right knee. Bring it forward behind the right hand. The foot angles to the left of the mat, and then you slide back with the left leg. Now the more this right foot comes forward, the more challenging this is for the hip, and sometimes the knee, so be careful. Flex the foot there. I'm going to come back to more of a moderate stretch. First part of pigeon, we're going to bring the hands back. This is more of a back bend. So we're lifting up through the heart. This stretches the left hip flexors. It could be on the fingertips or even on a set of blocks. And then lengthen the navel forward, coming down to the forearms, or resting the head on the back of the hands. Now, if you feel like you are collapsing to the side like this, that's where the blanket might come in handy. So you want to keep your hips pretty much equidistant from the floor, so you can tuck that little blanket roll under the thigh to keep you more neutral. Now you may not need it, but if you feel like you're falling over, it's a really nice prop to have. Take some long breaths in and long relaxed breaths out while you're in pigeon. And then bring the hands back under the shoulders. Lift up, move your blanket out of the way, take the back toe under, lift and swing the hips back. Take a moment in downward dog just to feel the extension of both sides of the spine. And then left blanket can come to the left if you need it. Left knee swings forward, lands behind the left wrist. Left foot comes in front of the right leg swings back. Well, I'm not going to need my blanket on this side, so I'm going to lift up first. But if you need it, sit on it under that left hip. So lift up first, stretching the right psoas and the right hip flexors, the right quad. This is a little back bend. And then lean forward, coming all the way down to elbows, to head, whichever you prefer. And then lifting up, taking the legs back, lifting again into downward dog just to stretch everything out for another few breaths. And then coming down to child's pose. Take a wide knee, close toes, and leaning forward. Hands slide back to the knees, lifting up the torso on an inhale and coming back and finding a prop to sit on now for our final position. So I'm going to show you first a few leg alterations. You can sit on a block, you can sit on the end of a bolster, or you can sit on a blanket, your choice. I'm going to use a block. So I'm going to sit on it with it going underneath my sit bones. And I'm going to start with the legs out in front of me. Now for the leg position, it is a crossed knee like we did in the very beginning. So if you cannot quite get there, you can actually just sit like this in a cross-legged position, a standard cross-legged position. So that would be option number one. Option number two would be to come into almost a Ardha Matsyendrasana leg position. So one ankle is coming under the other thigh so that the knee is in the middle of the sticky mat. And then you're putting your foot down on the other side or on the opposite side of the knee to find a place where you can balance. That's sort of options 2 and 3. Option 4 would be the full Gomukhasana, where we're actually crossing the legs. Now, once you get into this position, sometimes it's helpful to lean forward and really let those knees stack and swing those feet out to the sides. And then find your seat again between the feet. So we want the feet to be the same distance from the pelvis. So sometimes that means that one or both of them need to go in or out, depending on how it's feeling. And you want to try to share the load on both sit bones. So try not to lean too far to one side. I have my right knee on top, which means my left arm is going to go on top. Now we've already practiced with the strap. You're welcome to do the pose with the strap like we did before, holding the strap in the hand, lifting the arm up, letting it dangle behind, and then holding the strap down here. If you want to try for a slightly more advanced version of the posture, you won't use the strap, but you're going to bring the hands to the back of the body. So the idea here is that my left arm is going to roll forward, so this is external rotation. My right arm is going to be an internal rotation. I'm going to let the arms move towards their own palms. So left arm forward, right arm backward. Left arm is going to go all the way up and then bend my elbow. I'm touching my palm to my upper back. I'm going to bend my right elbow and bring my back of my right hand toward my mid-back. Now on this side, I am right-handed and my right shoulder is very, very tight. I can barely get my fingers to touch. That's not really necessary, but I'm just showing you or explaining to you how far away my hands are from each other. Once you get into this position, just like we did before with the strap, you're going to let the back of the body relax into where the hands are. I'm not jerking my right shoulder down. I'm actually really relaxing through the right shoulder, but I'm trying to lift the spine. So once you're there, just close the eyes for a few moments. Feel the binding in the legs, the binding in the arms. In a way, this posture helps us to draw our awareness away from the senses, away from movement, away from grasping. Because we are very securely in this position. And then when you're ready to release, you're going to release the top arm. Lean slightly forward. It makes the release of the back arm a bit easier. I'm going to bring that hand up and around to my shoulder. The other hand is going to come under, and you can either give yourself a hug here, or if it's available to you, you can raise up the forearms and twine the palms together and come into Garudasana arm position. Just a little stronger than the hugging of the elbows, or shoulders rather. So either way. All right, now before we go to the second side, I'm going to show you what that looked like from the back. So I'm going to bring my top foot off and bottom foot, a little shake of those knees, and let me turn around and show you the position from the back side. So this is my hard side, so I'm not going to be able to be as flexible as my other side because I'm right arm dominant, and when the dominant arm is in the back position, it's a little more tight. So my top arm, left arm, palm forward, goes all the way up, bend the elbow, the back arm, palm in and back, and then bend the elbow. Now you can see I can't quite get the hands together. So I'm just spreading out my fingers and resting my palm and back of my hand on my back body. On the opposite side, I actually can make the clasp. So if I show you that side, much easier for me to actually touch. Now there's a lot of teachers that will teach to hold like this. They always think of those old monkey toys where they're clasping the fingers. This actually tightens up the muscles around the rotator cuff, so I don't recommend it. I recommend that even if you can touch, that you keep the hand relaxed. It's much more comfortable to hold the position. So let's do that on the second side together. So again, you're going to sit on your prop if you need a prop. I'm going to bring my right leg behind my left knee. My hip is actually touching my heel here. And then the other leg, top leg, is going to come over. Now again, I'm here, but I feel like I'm a little kind of leaning to the side. So I'm going to lean forward and try to get my knees right in front of one another. And then sit back down, make sure I've got my block in a good position back there. And then try to get the feet about the same distance from the hips. So my left leg is in the front or on top. My right arm is going to go on top. If I didn't pay attention to that and this arm goes on top, we end up turning a little bit. So having the opposite arm on top creates just enough of a counter rotation to keep you really balanced in the pose. So my right arm goes palm forward, which is external rotation, and it raises up and then bends, palm to the upper back. My left hand rolls in, goes behind, and also bends. And again, I'm going to work my left hand up and just touch fingertips without grasping. Belly in, sitting tall, closing the eyes if that's appropriate, feeling the sense of holding that the pose creates. So nowhere to walk to or run to here, nothing to hold on to with the hands. We're just allowing this posture to remove those wantings that we tend to have in the mind and in the body. Good. And then releasing the arms. The bottom arm comes to the top shoulder, and you can hug or come up into Garuda with the elbows in front of the chin. So broadening through the upper back, broadening into the collarbones, or hugging, and then release. All right. So I'm going to come off my block, unclasp my legs, give them a bit of a shake, and then I'm going to keep one of my blocks to do a reclined twist on the floor. So I'm going to place it on the right side of my mat, come down on the back. It's close to my knees, but a little farther away. I'm going to shift my hips away from the block, bring my knees to my chest, lay the legs on the block. That hand is going to hold, the other hand is going to come up into a cactus position. So just to stretch now this outer hip area that Gomukhasana gets into, and to open a bit through the chest and collarbone. And then releasing back to center, lifting the legs, bringing the feet down, relaxing the arm, scooting the hips more into the center, changing the block. Hips are going to move away from the block, knees in, knees on the block, hand holding, and arm into cactus, and my head is still facing upward. So it's stretching now my right side, waist, ribs, chest, and outer thigh. And then knees come up, hugging them in, getting your hips in the middle. Give a squeeze, maybe rock a little right and left. And I've got a bolster down at the bottom of my mat, so I'm going to roll over just to get that bolster so that I can come into Shavasana. Also have a blanket that I can use for my head. So just finding some comfort now. Since we have that sandbag back there, you can also use the sandbag. So be careful when you move it, they are kind of heavy. Right across the pubic bone and tops of the thighs, which is a nice grounding for the back and for the hips. This feels really good in those groins after the work of Gomukhasana. So releasing to the floor. Let the body sink. Let the breath flow. And be observant of the thoughts. Take a deep breath in and a relaxed breath out. Wiggle the fingers and twinkle the toes. Slide the sandbag off to your left side. Bend the knees one and the other. Roll to the right. Using the arms, push yourself up to seated. And bringing hands in front of the heart. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.